Right, for more on that story, we're joined now by DA Gauteng Health spokesperson Jack Bloom and the Gauteng Forensic Medical Services acting CEO Thembalethu Mphahlaza. Gentlemen, good to have you and thank you very much for your time. Mr. Mphahlaza, there is a forensic services building that is not being completed. That's one story. And then there is, of course, forensic services around the forensic that are having a backlog. Are the two related? Is the delays in finishing a building and the delays in terms of the forensic work that needs to happen linked?
Thank you, sir, and thank you, Newzroom community. No, I can say these are not related, but yes, in terms of addressing the issue of the spacing and other internal ancillary investigations that are contributing in terms of finalization of our findings. Having that particular building in Helen Joseph in operation, that will help a lot. We will have an institution that will make provision for the other laboratory services that we are currently depending from external laboratories such as NHLS, Forensic Chemistry Laboratory, and Forensic Science Laboratory.
And from your point of view, are you putting, I suppose, a little bit of pressure on the department in terms of delivery of this building?
Yes, of course. I think right now we are standing at 98%. But remember, the Department of Health on itself is not having a mandate to build the government buildings, except the Department of Infrastructure in Gauteng. I can say, yes, the building is almost in completion. That's the issue now of the contract issues that needs to be finalized so that we can take occupation of the building. We are intending to make sure that before the end of this particular financial year, we will definitely commission that building.
Yeah. Jack, in terms of accountability then, what were the timelines and how were they missed?
Well, you know, a new facility is desperately needed. The Hillbrow mortuary is a condemned building, to be honest. It's rat infested. The ventilation doesn't work. It's smelly. It's really terrible work conditions for the staff there and for families who have to visit the bodies of their loved ones there. So it's been quite an urgent matter to have the new building, which is right near Helen Joseph Hospital. And it was started in November 2016. It was supposed to be finished in November 2019, 3 years later. I asked a question in the Gauteng legislature last year about the reason for the delays and when it would be finished, and the firm reply I got from the then MEC, the former MEC for Health, was that it would be opened in January this year. Now, it's still not opened, and I think it's very problematic. I think the staffing problems at Hillbrow Mortuary are also probably related to the poor working conditions there. What we're looking at the Helen Joseph location, the new mortuary is supposed to be a state-of-the-art, a modern, expanded facility. I'm sure you'd attract more staff there. It would really help to cut the backlogs, environment for grieving relatives, for working staff. I think it's long overdue. And yes, it's quite correct. It's not actually the fault of the Gauteng Health Department. It's the fault of the Department of Infrastructure Development, which I'm afraid to say is notorious for choosing companies that don't finish the job, or there might be mismanagement involved. In fact, in this case, one of the delays was because the contractor hadn't been paid, and then apparently there were design problems. So I think there should be accountability for that. The accountability should be with the Department of Infrastructure Development and the provincial government as a whole. You know, people are suffering because of the terrible conditions at the Hillbrow mortuary.
Yeah. Contractor problems and design problems, if Eskom is anything to go by, normally come with scope creep and inflated budgets. Is that the case here, or has the department stuck to the budget that was set for this particular building?
Well, an enormous amount of money was set aside for it, 588 million rand. The reply I had last year was that they were still within budget. I wonder if that's still true, and hopefully they are, but it's certainly way, way overdue. I mean, wouldn't things be 100 times better if this had been completed on time, within budget, a wonderful new modern facility in November 2019, as it was originally supposed to be the case? So I really feel for the staff working at the Hillbrow mortuary. I have visited the building, and it was never designed to be a mortuary in the first place. So it was time that they built a new facility and move into it.
Yeah. So you're suspecting corruption is a factor here? Do you know for sure, or is it just mere speculation at this point?
Well, I think certainly mismanagement. And if you're not paying a contractor and they're refusing to work, that's certainly mismanagement. And why don't we put the most competent people in charge? Why do they have to be design problem issues? This is a perennial problem with the Gauteng Department of Infrastructure Development. They're just incapable of ever doing anything on time and within budget. Normally it's double the time and runs over budget. This project is certainly double the time it should have taken. I don't know if they've run over budget. We'll have to see. I'll be doing follow-up questions to the Department of Infrastructure Development, and let's see what the cause of the delay is. I'm pleased to hear that it's 98% completion. I hope that they can equip it in record time and move everything over there as soon as possible.
Yeah. Mr. Mphahlaza, let's talk about this question of equipping the pathology services in the country. Are you having trouble attracting the required new pathologists for the mortuaries? Because you yourself say that the department has allocated the budget, so it's not a money issue. The budget for the pathologists is there. So what could be the challenge?
I think it's the issue of the scope of our work that we are doing. The youth of these days do not find it really an attractive environment, the type of work that we are doing. So it's an issue of working closer with the institutions of higher learnings and also to market our service. Because the challenge now, even if you will say tomorrow you need to have 100 pathologists, you've got the budget. But in the market, they are very limited. Few institutions of higher learning that are able to supply us with enough doctors specializing in our service. Yes, the Department of Health in Gauteng
All right, Mr. Mphahlaza, I think you're frozen there. Jack, maybe you can jump in while we try and reconnect with him. Is the problem that we are not training enough, or we are not attractive enough for them to come on board?
Well, it's a very stressful job, let's be honest. And it's only a certain type of person would be inclined to take it. But I think, yes, I think we want, to have unattractive working conditions for a very stressful job, I'm sure is making it more difficult to attract the right type of people. We probably aren't training enough, but I think there are qualified people out there who simply won't join up because certainly at the Hillbrow mortuary because of such terrible working conditions. Can you imagine working in conditions where bodies are deteriorating because there isn't adequate freezing, there's a terrible smell, it's dark and dingy? Surely when the new facility is opened, I think they should find it much easier to get qualified staff that we need. But it's not just pathologists that they're short of. It takes ages to write up a report. I get constant pleas from family members, and the actual post-mortem is supposed to be done within 48 hours, and very often it actually is, but they can't get the report because it takes 6 months to be typed up, and they need this report for insurance purposes or to get closure about the cause of death. Why I say this is a very traumatic job is, first of all, dealing with grieving families, with dead bodies, but all of these dead bodies are from unnatural causes. By law, if there's a suspected unnatural cause, that could be a murder, that could be suicide, or something like that, an abandoned body, you don't know the cause of death, it has to go to a government mortuary. So you can imagine how stressful it is for a family to come in, identify the body, and the cases we've had recently is where it's taken more than a week for the bodies to be released, and funeral parlours complain that sometimes they're in a decomposed conditions, which of course has added trauma for the family.
So we are sitting in a situation where the MEC is promising that there will be some kind of work done to address this backlog. Do you believe there is a believable plan that demonstrates that decisive action is being taken here, and therefore can we expect, I mean, according to Mr. Mphahlaza, unfortunately we lost him there, that yes, the building is 98% there, but even then it's more than likely that it will be occupied in the next financial year. But do we have a plan right now to address the situation as far as the backlogs are concerned?
Immediate need is to get extra doctors in, and the MEC has now promised that they're going to get 9 pathologists very soon. Well, I hope that it does happen. But there was actually a bit of a strike by doctors at the Hillbrow mortuary in the last 2 weeks because of the poor working conditions. So I certainly hope we can recruit new doctors to be there. I mean, we must hold the MEC to her promise. In a month's time, let's see if those doctors are there and the backlogs are cut. I'd like to see that happen. I'd also like to see the new forensic pathology building complete, equipped and fully staffed, and make this much smoother operations so that everybody benefits in a very difficult job, unfortunately.
Jack Bloom, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. Member of the provincial legislature in Gauteng there, Jack Bloom. And we had the CEO, acting CEO of the Forensic Medical Services in Gauteng. And unfortunately, we lost him there. It could have been, of course, because of connection or load shedding. A number of other reasons could be given for it. But you can weigh in on our conversations tonight, 07211055584, or otherwise you can tweet us at Newzroom405. More news on the way after this.